Ava Monroe had been paralyzed since the day she was born, and for 8 long years, even the world's most brilliant doctors had surrendered to the impossible. Yet everything changed the moment a janitor's daughter wandered into the mansion and made the little girl in the wheelchair laugh. No one inside that glass palace knew it yet, but the next few seconds would shatter medical certainty, rewrite a billionaire's life, and ignite a miracle no amount of money had ever been able to buy. Stay with this story, because what happened next would challenge everything people believe about love, fate, and the limits of the human heart. Security cameras do not believe in miracles. They just record pixels and movement and timestamps. But if anyone had checked the footage from the Monroe estate that Saturday morning, they would have seen the exact second the impossible began. Not with a doctor in a white coat, with a janitor who was not supposed to exist, and a little girl with worn-out sneakers doing cartwheels on a $100,000 rug. Hours earlier, when the sky over Manhattan was still the color of wet concrete, Ethan Brooks pushed his cleaning cart through the staff entrance on the side of the estate. The Monroe mansion rose over Fifth Avenue like a museum, 6,000 square meters of marble, glass, and silence that had forgotten what laughter sounded like. He did not belong there, and every piece of polished stone reminded him of that fact. His hands were cracked from bleach. His back still ached from the night shift at another office building. 42 years old, widowed for 3, he told himself the same thing every morning as he swiped his badge and stepped into the world of people who spent more on flowers than he spent on rent. It is just a job. It pays well. You can keep Mia fed. You can keep the apartment. You can survive. The agency had drilled the rules into him. Do your work. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not make eye contact. Do not leave a trace. You are a ghost that mops floors. He thought he could handle being a ghost. Then he saw Ava. The first time he rolled his cart past the sunroom, he almost kept walking. Then something made him glance inside. Light poured in from floor-to-ceiling windows, turning the room into a glass box above Central Park. In the center sat a chair that looked more like a machine from a science lab than something a child should need. The wheelchair was custom-engineered, a sleek frame of metal and carbon fiber, subtle motors built into the wheels, supports adjusted down to the millimeter. It probably cost more than Ethan would earn in a decade. In it sat Ava Monroe. She was 8 years old but small for her age, dark hair falling in a straight curtain around a face that was too quiet. Her eyes stopped him. They were a deep, warm brown, sharp, and watching everything. The eyes of someone who understood far more than anyone said out loud around her. Under the soft blanket that matched the color of the sofa, her legs lay perfectly straight, perfectly still. Paralyzed since birth, $20 million spent on treatments, therapies, machines, and flights to clinics he would never even see in photos. 17 world-famous specialists, 4 Nobel Prize winners. Olivia Monroe, Ava's mother and the icy queen of a $4 billion pharmaceutical empire, had bought every opinion money could reach. All of them had agreed. Your daughter will never walk. Ethan stood in the doorway with his mop in hand and felt something break in his chest. Maybe it was because he had watched his own wife fade away despite all the chemo. Maybe it was because he had a little girl at home who still slept with a unicorn blanket that was starting to tear. Maybe it was because Ava's eyes, for all their intelligence, looked like a child who had been abandoned by hope. He should have kept walking. Instead, he began to clean where she could see him. He never spoke to her. He did not dare. But he swept the same corner of the sunroom a little longer if her gaze followed his movements. He wiped the same window twice if he could feel her watching his hand chase the reflection of the sky. He started to leave tiny things behind, as if the house were playing tricks on itself. One morning, there was a clumsy little swan folded out of a paper towel resting on the side table near her chair. Another day, he drew a simple smiley face on the fogged-up glass before wiping it away, just long enough for her to see it. When the light came in at the right angle, he lifted his hands and made a rabbit with his shadow on the wall. He told himself it was nothing. He was just passing time. She probably did not even notice, but she did. She watched with a hunger that had nothing to do with food. A hunger for something that did not come in pill bottles or arrive by private jet. A hunger for someone to look directly at her and not just at her medical file. One early morning, when the estate was still half asleep, he took a risk. As he passed her chair, he glanced over and gave the smallest, quickest wink, a secret shared across polished air. Ava's lips twitched. It was not a full smile, just a tiny, almost invisible crack in the ice around her face. But Ethan felt as if someone had reached into his chest and squeezed his heart. 3 months later, the day everything exploded started like a normal disaster. Mia's grandparents were both sick. The after-school program was closed because of a pipe leak. His backup babysitter had moved out of state. There was no one left to call. If he skipped work, he could lose the best-paying job he had ever had. If he went, he would leave his 7-year-old daughter alone in Queens. By the time he had to leave, his head was pounding. So he broke a rule. He brought Mia with him. He sneaked her through the service entrance in her worn sneakers and faded sweatshirt, her hair pulled into a messy ponytail, eyes wide as she took in the gleaming hallways. "You stay in this closet," he whispered, opening the small broom cupboard off the staff corridor. "Here is the tablet. Here are snacks. You do not make a sound. You do not open this door. You pretend this is the most serious game in the world, okay?" Mia nodded, solemn. "I promise, Dad." She lasted exactly 5 minutes. A floating speck of dust in a beam of sunlight caught her eye. She slipped out of the closet and followed it down the corridor, bare steps light on the expensive floor. Like a small storm, the house did not know was coming. By the time Ethan turned around with his mop and saw the empty closet, cold terror slammed into him. He dropped everything and ran, heart beating so hard he could hear it in his ears. He found her in the main living room. Mia stood near the center of the room, head tilted, staring at Ava in her wheelchair. They were maybe 10 feet apart, frozen like they were on opposite sides of an invisible line. Ava in a pale dress that probably cost more than every piece of clothing Mia owned put together. Mia in jeans from a thrift store, a faded cartoon fox smiling on her hoodie. Two worlds staring at each other like they had never truly seen another child before. Silence thickened the air. Then Mia opened her mouth in the simple, brutal honesty only kids have. "Whoa," she said softly. "That chair looks awesome. Does it fly like in superhero movies?" The question hung there. For a second, Ethan felt the floor tilt. He was about to yank Mia away, apologize to the walls and the paintings and whatever gods protected billionaires, when it happened. Ava laughed. It was small at first, like someone remembering how. A rusty sound pushed through unused muscles. Then it spilled out, clearer, higher, a bell ringing in a house that had forgotten it owned one. The sound bounced off the high ceiling, off the paintings, off the glass. 2 years. For 2 years, she had not spoken a word. Now she laughed. "No," she whispered when she caught her breath, voice thin but real. "It does not fly." Mia blinked, utterly unimpressed by the miracle she had just triggered. "Too bad," she said. "I always wanted a flying chair, but I can do this." She dropped her backpack and launched into a ridiculous, imperfect cartwheel right over the priceless rug. Then another, and another. Her limbs went everywhere. Her landing was messy, and she laughed at herself every time. Every adult who had ever walked into that room knew the rug's value and acted accordingly. Mia did not care. To her, it was just soft ground. Ava laughed again. This time it shook her whole body. Her eyes shone in a way Ethan had never seen. And then, in the middle of that joy, her right hand twitched. Slowly shaking as if she were pushing through concrete, Ava lifted her arm and reached toward Mia. Just a few inches. Just enough to contradict years of medical certainty. That was the exact second Olivia Monroe walked in. Her heels clicked on the marble like a metronome of judgment. Perfect dark hair, perfect suit, perfect cold stare that had sent grown men out of boardrooms shaking. She stopped dead when she saw the scene in front of her own. The janitor's child doing gymnastics on her rug, her daughter laughing, her rules shattered into glitter at their feet. "What is going on here?" Her voice could have broken glass. "Who is this child?" "Ethan, what did you do? You are done here. You will never work in this city again. I will have lawyers on you by tomorrow. I will..." She never finished the sentence, because in that moment, in front of her, Ava's right foot moved. 2 deliberate inches toward Mia. Ava's voice, weak but clear, cut through the shouting. "Stay," she said. The house held its breath. Olivia stared, frozen. The daughter she had watched lie motionless for 8 years had just moved her foot, not in a random spasm, but toward a little girl from nowhere. Mia looked from one adult to the other, confused by the storm she had accidentally summoned. Ethan felt his world crack open. Hope, terror, guilt, all hit him at once. Olivia's entire life had been built on data, reports, numbers, signatures, other people's suffering turned into medication and profit. But no graph on her desk had ever felt like this. Her daughter's toe dragged another inch on the rug. In the silence that followed, something shifted, though no one yet knew what it was. If you were Olivia, standing there watching your child do the impossible in front of a stranger's daughter, would you let that girl stay in your perfectly controlled life, yes or no? Olivia Monroe did not sleep for the next 72 hours. Not because she was angry, not because she was preparing the termination contracts for Ethan or the lawsuit threats she had hurled in the heat of panic. She barely remembered shouting at all. No, she stayed awake because every time she closed her eyes, she saw it again. Ova's foot, moving, not twitching, not spasming, moving toward another child with intention, as if for the first time in her life she had something to reach for. Olivia sat in her office overlooking Fifth Avenue, piles of medical reports spread across the desk. Reports that had cost more than suburban houses, reports stamped by the most respected neurologists in the world, reports printed on thick paper that felt like truth. Voluntary movement is not possible. She read that line again and again until the words blurred. Then she replayed the security footage the hospital team had installed years ago. Pixelated, grainy, but unmistakable. Ava's foot, sliding forward. Ava's hand, extending toward that other little girl, toward Mia Brooks. And suddenly Olivia felt something she had not felt in years. Fear. Not fear of the scandal, not fear of boardrooms or shareholders or headlines, but a deeper, more fragile fear. The fear of a mother who realizes she may have been wrong for 8 years. The fear that her daughter's only chance at connection had walked into her house wearing thrift store shoes and cartwheeling across a priceless rug. She reached for her phone. The private investigator she hired had a reputation for finding the secrets people didn't want found. Within hours, a full dossier arrived in Olivia's inbox. She scrolled through Ethan Brooks's life like she was reading the script of a tragedy. Widowed at 39. Wife lost to a fast-moving leukemia. One daughter, Mia. No criminal record. No addictions. No debts except the small Queens apartment. 2 jobs, 16-hour days. A man held together by grit and whatever love he could scrape together for his daughter. He sent $60 every Christmas to a community center that had helped his wife during chemo. He had never asked for help from anyone. He had been invisible, by necessity and survival. Invisible until Ava moved her foot. By dawn on the 4th day, Olivia reached a decision she did not yet understand. She changed into jeans and a sweater she had not worn in years and walked down the marble staircase to the staff kitchen, a place she had never stepped into before. Ethan was there. Of course he was. He was always the first to arrive. He was polishing silver bowls with a quiet focus, his sleeves rolled up, the muscles in his arms tense with exhaustion and responsibility. He looked up when she entered, startled. The last time he had seen her, she had threatened to destroy his entire life. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Olivia said something she had not said in 12 years. "I don't know what to do." Ethan set the silver bowl down slowly. "About what?" "My daughter," Olivia said, her voice scraping. "She keeps moving her foot toward the door, as if she's waiting for someone." Ethan's jaw shifted. "Mia's been drawing pictures for her every day since Saturday." Olivia felt something loosen inside her rib cage, something painful and frightening. "You mean she thinks of Ava as a friend?" Ethan nodded. Something in Olivia collapsed. She did not apologize. She did not know how to apologize. Instead, she said, "I want Mia to come back, but only for an hour, supervised." Ethan didn't entirely believe her, but he nodded. The first hour changed everything. Mia ran into the sunroom with the unself-conscious joy of someone who had nothing to lose. She ignored the museum-level art, the priceless rug, the vases that cost more than her father's car. She went straight to Ava, plopped down on the floor, and pulled out a Barbie she had bought for $1 at a thrift store. The doll had only one arm. "This one's special," Mia announced. "She saves people. She doesn't need a full set of limbs to be awesome." Ava stared, eyes widening as if someone had opened a window in her chest. Mia started acting out ridiculous storylines, switching voices, narrating battles, giving the Barbie a superhero theme song. Ava's eyes got brighter and brighter. Then her fingers twitched. Then her wrist lifted. Then her arm rose shakily and reached for the doll. 2 miracles in 2 days. Behind a column, Olivia pressed her fist against her mouth to muffle the sob that tried to escape. In the far corner, Ethan pretended to polish the same vase for a suspiciously long time, shoulders shaking with quiet awe. By the end of the week, Mia had become a daily presence. She played, narrated, joked, spun impossible stories, and Ava devoured every second as if it were oxygen. Her hands strengthened. Her arms followed. Soon her torso began small, stubborn attempts at control. Something inside her was waking up, not through medicine, but through a reason to move. When Olivia flew in Dr. Kenji Yamamoto, the Japanese neurology expert who charged $150,000 per consult, the man spent 6 silent hours reviewing video footage. He finally looked up, glasses hanging low on his nose. "This is not medical," he said. "This is motivational. She has found something to move toward." 2 months later, Olivia reached the limit of what she could emotionally tolerate. She called Ethan into her office. He stood stiffly, shoes still damp from mopping. Olivia was immaculate in a $10,000 suit, but her voice trembled just slightly. "How much money would you like," she asked, "for continuing to bring Mia here?" Ethan blinked. "I don't follow." "I will pay you," she said, "as much as you want. Name an amount." Ethan's face changed. Something shut inside him, something that had survived years of humiliation and exhaustion. His voice came out low but steady. "No." Olivia stared. "No to what?" "No money, Ethan repeated. "Mia doesn't come here for a paycheck. She comes because she likes your daughter. That's not something you buy." Olivia had been rejected before, by men with more money than shame, by boardrooms full of CEOs who wanted her power. But she had never been rejected by someone who had nothing except his dignity. Ethan continued, his hands stiff at his sides. Ava didn't move for specialists. She moved for a little girl who treated her like she wasn't broken. If you're really trying to help her, you should think about that. He left her standing there, stunned. That night, Olivia went upstairs to Ava's room during playtime. Mia looked up, holding a one-armed Barbie. "You want to play too?" Mia asked without hesitation, offering her the doll. Olivia Monroe, woman who attended galas with senators and had never sat on a floor in her adult life, slowly lowered herself onto the rug. Her $10,000 suit wrinkled as she crossed her legs. Mia filled the silence with chatter. Ava watched her mother with trembling hope. Then Ava extended her hand, reached past the doll, and curled her fingers around Olivia's sleeve, the first voluntary touch of her mother in 3 years. Olivia broke down. 3 days later, the doctors decided it was time to test something even more terrifying. Ava trying to stand. They gathered in the sunroom. Ethan on one side, Olivia on the other, Mia in front, arms held out like she was ready to catch a falling star. Ava gripped the armrests. Every muscle in her face tightened with concentration. Inch by inch, impossibly, painfully, she pushed herself upward. She stood. Not long, just 3 seconds. But she stood. She fell forward and Ethan caught her, laughing and crying at once. Mia jumped in circles. Olivia buried her face in her hands and sobbed. That night, Ava crawled out of bed, dragged herself into the living room, and asked a question that would change all their lives. Can Mia and Mr. Ethan live with us? They see me as Ava, not as the girl who can't walk. Olivia kissed her daughter's head and picked up her phone. 2 months later, Ethan and Mia lived in the east wing of the Monroe estate, and for the first time in her life, Ava woke up excited for tomorrow. If Ava were your child and you witnessed her first steps coming from love instead of medicine, would you trust that love to continue guiding her healing? Yes or no? The weeks that followed felt like someone had lifted the Monroe estate out of its cold marble foundation and set it gently into a warmer world. The East Wing, once a silent stretch of unused guest rooms, became the heartbeat of the house. Every morning began the same way, the sound of Mia's running footsteps, Ava's soft laughter, and Ethan's voice calling after them as if the mansion were a playground and not a temple of wealth. Olivia watched it unfold with awe she never dared speak aloud. She had spent years trying to buy a miracle, assembling a museum of experts who spoke in numbers and probabilities. Yet all along, the only medicine Ava needed was play, connection, a reason to move and a reason to believe she could. The girl who had once been still as stone now tried every day to take another step, another stretch, another reach. Mia was the spark, Ethan was the anchor, and Olivia was learning to be the mother she had never been allowed to be. But the world beyond their improvised family was not so gentle. The first blow came from the tabloids, as sharp and predictable as winter wind. A secretly recorded video surfaced of Ava standing for a few seconds during therapy. The headline screamed fraud. They claimed she had never been paralyzed. They claimed Ethan was an actor hired to tug at public sympathy. They claimed Olivia, the pharmaceutical heiress, was staging miracles to manipulate stock prices. Online commentators pounced, slicing at the family they were trying so hard to build. It got worse. Charles Monroe, Olivia's father, summoned her to his penthouse. His voice had always been sharp, but this time it was carved from ice. He demanded she choose between her company and Ethan, between corporate legacy and the man who cleaned her floors. His ultimatum was absolute. Her relationship with Ethan, he said, was a stain on the Monroe name, a disgrace. Olivia left shaking with anger, but when she returned home, the situation was far worse than any threat from her father. Reporters lined the street outside the gates. Drones hovered near the windows. Cameras flashed like lightning when the two little girls peeked out from behind the curtains. Fear bloomed across their small faces. Ethan saw it too. He sensed danger like someone who had lived his entire life avoiding the wrong kind of attention. "I should leave," he told Olivia late that night in the kitchen. "They're attacking you because of me. If I go, they'll stop." He meant it. He was ready to disappear if it kept them safe. But he had forgotten one thing. Ava had learned to move for love, and she moved now. She pushed herself out of her chair, legs trembling, arms scraping the cold marble floor. She stumbled, fell, crawled again, eyes fixed on Ethan with a desperation no medical chart could diagnose. When she reached him, she grabbed his leg with shaking hands and pulled herself upright. "Don't go," she cried, voice breaking. "I walk because of you. If you leave, I'll lose everything." Ethan froze, breath ripped from his lungs. A child who once could not move was using every muscle she had to keep him from disappearing. Olivia stepped forward then, her voice steady but burning. "We're done hiding," she said. "If the world wants answers, we'll give them the truth." She called a press conference. 300 journalists packed into the auditorium of St. Mary's Children's Hospital. The room buzzed with speculation, cameras pointed at the stage in expectation of scandal. Instead, Dr. Kenji Yamamoto took the podium with the calm authority of someone who had no interest in theatrics. He displayed 8 years of medical records that confirmed Ava's paralysis beyond all doubt. X-rays, MRIs, neurological studies, all irrefutable. Then Olivia stepped forward. Her posture was flawless, as always, but her voice trembled with something real. $20 million of medicine failed my daughter, she said. The cure came in the form of friendship and kindness. A janitor's child reminded her that she was more than her diagnosis. And that kind of healing doesn't come from money. It comes from love. If defending that love destroys my family's company, then so be it. The room erupted in flashbulbs, but no headline could compete with what came next. Ava stood. In front of the entire nation, she pushed against the podium, rose slowly and walked a short distance to the microphones. Each step trembled, but none broke. Reporters gasped. Some cried. Ava lifted her chin, tears streaming down her face. "I can walk now," she whispered, "because Mia is my best friend. And Ethan is the dad I wanted." Mia, unable to contain herself, cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted from the front row, "And I want Olivia as my mom!" The nation did not witness a scandal that day. It witnessed a miracle rooted in love rather than science. Even Charles Monroe, watching alone from his glass fortress high over the city, felt something crack inside his chest. In 60 years, no one had ever seen him cry. Yet tears slid silently down his face as the camera zoomed in on his granddaughter, taking yet another shaky, perfect step. He called his lawyers before the press conference had even ended. The next morning, he arrived at the mansion with an envelope. Inside were legal documents transferring all his shares to Ava Monroe, making her the future head of the company, with Olivia and Ethan appointed as co-guardians and trustees. Charles, the man who had tried to control every corner of Olivia's life, fell to one knee before his granddaughter. "I almost destroyed your happiness," he whispered. "Forgive me." Ava hugged him with all the strength she had gained, but Ethan's insecurities remained rooted like thorns. He had grown up believing there were worlds he did not belong to, and even surrounded by love, that belief fought to survive. One early morning, overwhelmed by fear of not being enough, he packed a suitcase and left a letter on the kitchen table. Before sunrise, he slipped quietly out the door, intending to vanish. He took the subway toward Grand Central Terminal, blending into the morning rush. He sat on a bench beneath the arched ceiling, head bowed, trying to convince himself that leaving would save the people he loved. Around him, travelers hurried by without noticing the man whose heart was breaking in plain sight. But real family does not let you disappear. Olivia burst into the station in silk pajamas under a heavy coat, hair undone, breathless. Mia ran beside her, wearing mismatched unicorn pajamas. And behind them, walking unaided with fierce determination, came Ava, step after shaky step as commuters gasped and parted for her. Mia reached him first. "You can't run away from us," she said, eyes on fire. "You're part of this family, whether you want it or not." Ava made it to him, 92 steps in total, her greatest achievement yet. She stood in front of him, chest heaving. "If you leave," she said softly, "you stop walking. I walk for all of us, for our family." Ethan broke. The walls he had built his entire life crumbled under the weight of their love. Olivia dropped to her knees on the cold station floor. "Ethan Brooks," she said, voice trembling, "will you marry this completely unprepared billionaire who fell in love with a janitor who saved her daughter's life?" The station erupted in applause. Travelers cried. Strangers recorded the moment. New York, a city not easily moved, held its breath for a fairy tale that felt impossibly real. He whispered yes. The wedding was nothing like the society pages expected. No elite guest list, no choreographed perfection. Instead, there were 50 people who mattered. Doctors, nurses, staff, Mia's grandparents, and even Ethan's younger brother Jason, attending on a special release program arranged by Olivia. The Monroe Estate Chapel buzzed with hope instead of formality. Ava walked down the aisle, fell once, laughed, got up again. Carmen lost the rings. Charles cried openly. Ethan and Olivia kissed like two people who had clawed their way back to life. A year later, the Monroe Pediatric Rehabilitation Foundation transformed everything. Their therapy rooms were filled with laughter. Children once written off duplicated Ava's progress. Mia became the unofficial chief consultant of play. Olivia discovered she was expecting another child, her belly rounding gently beneath simple clothes she chose for comfort rather than image. One warm evening, the four of them stood on the terrace watching the sun paint the sky. Ava and Mia chased each other across the lawn, limbs flying freely in the wind. Ava stopped, cheeks flushed. "I'm glad I was paralyzed," she said. Olivia flinched. Ethan froze. Ava smiled at them with the wisdom of someone who had walked through fear and found light on the other side. "If I hadn't been, I never would have met Mia, and you two never would have found each other. We wouldn't be a family." Mia nodded, resting her head on Ava's shoulder. Best miracle ever. As twilight settled over New York, the house that once echoed with emptiness now glowed with life. Children's drawings covered priceless art. The piano was littered with scribbled notes. The hallway smelled like pancakes instead of antiseptic. Four hearts, once broken in different ways, had fused into something whole. And the Monroe Estate, once a mausoleum of loss, had become a home filled with miracles, made one step, one laugh, one impossible moment at a time. If this story touched your heart, would you say yes or no when asked whether love can truly create miracles? If you enjoyed this journey, let us know in the comments and tell us what country you are watching from. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story. And if you know someone who needs hope today, share this video with them and pass the miracle along.